Hey, what's up, sock drawer? First of all, I want to apologize for the lack of live gameplay in this video because my internet is like really messing up right now. It kept disconnecting me and reconnecting me and stuff, so I couldn't actually get in a game for longer than a few minutes at a time. I may actually have to go over to a friend's house to get this uploaded. That's how dedicated I am. So, secondly, backdrop is I don't know if you ever watched my video. I broke my stand by trying to twerk on this chair. I broke the fuck out of it. It's a little bit too broken to remain up, but I'm gonna fix it. It'll be fixed by tomorrow's video, so we'll be good, but I just need some time, and everything's fucking up at once, so yeah. Anyway, 2 days ago, we posted a video where we talked a lot about the proposed changes for the jungle, and I'd just like to point out, by the way, guys, that I was like the first English-speaking channel to do like a big video on it, so that's right, Bro Fresco and Red Mercy, suck my dick, I beat you guys, and that'll never happen again. So if you didn't hear, the changes to the jungle where that firstly, smite buffs were being removed, which are obviously if you smite red buff, you get health, if you smite blue buff, you get mana, if you smite Razorbeak, you get true vision, and secondly, where the RNG plants were being added into the jungle that spawn momentarily throughout the map, stuff like that. And despite a lot of people saying, yes, it gives you 30 seconds to respond to it, you have 30 seconds to strategize, it's not true RNG, because like, you get 30 seconds. I don't agree with, because I do have 30 seconds to prepare if I am looking at the entire fucking jungle at the same time, and I know where they're gonna spawn. Unfortunately, I do not have 11 sets of fucking eyes in the front of my head. I cannot monitor every single thing at once, and it's not like it pings you to tell you that a plant's spawning, it just spawns. So, I disagree with that point on the plants. We're gonna go over a lot of stuff about them today. And I'm terrible at the game, obviously, so having 2 eyes on my character at all times, that's just not enough, really, is it? Now, of course, when these changes were proposed, it was only right that we asked questions. And it seems like an overwhelming majority of the community were kind of like, what the fuck, Riot? About the whole thing. And, of course, we have every right to be. We've seen the jungle get dug up year after year after year, changed and reworked, so it's only right that we question the reasoning behind decisions like this. And try and open a dialogue between Riot and the community and get some answers. It's fair enough. I read a lot of the comments, and quite a few people, some of the jungle mains, were actually quite happy to hear that, you know, the jungle was changing. They say that, you know, jungling gets boring doing the same thing every single time. It gets boring doing the same clears every single time. They wanted a change, and also Riot mentioned this as well. They said, the jungle isn't dynamic, we want to change it up, we want to make it different. Well, yeah, you're playing a fucking MOBA game. I don't know if you guys know this, but we do the same thing every fucking game with slight variations. You don't see fucking anybody putting like a spiral or something in top lane, or you don't see like a fucking bridge with a door, like just anything bot lane. They don't change it up. It only seems to be like the jungle that they want to redefine. Why is that though? Top lane has always been top lane, mid lane's been mid lane, bot lane's been bot lane, but for some reason, jungling just isn't enough. Like, you have to have something dynamic about it. It's fine. It's fine. We've played the same game thousands of times and we've never complained. So why do we need change now? It doesn't matter what role you're in, honestly. It's the same game. So the community asked some immediate questions about the whole thing. There was kind of a split. Not quite down the middle. It was maybe like 70-30 in terms of people's opinion. Some people were saying, this is the worst thing that has ever happened to League of Legends, I'm quitting, I hate Riot, all that kind of stuff. That was like the majority of people, the kind of knee-jerk reaction. The other people were the ones who I kind of agree with to a certain extent, and these are the people that they have the ideology that you shouldn't complain or ask questions about anything in the game until you've actually tried it, you've tested it, and I don't quite agree with that. I agree with the fact that we should definitely try and test it, but I don't think that we should not ask questions about it until we've actually tried it. I said in my video about the jungle changes that I'm keeping an open mind about plants because I have I see a lot of potential in them to be a fun mechanic, but I still question their relevance in a competitive environment, and I question the removal of smite buffs. See, I don't need to know what it's like to not have smite buffs to know that I don't like that. I like what I have. I like the jungle as it is. I'm pretty happy with it. I play jungle quite a lot. I'm cool with it right now. I don't need to test it out without smite buffs to know that I don't like that. So that's what I don't agree with. The first camp are a little knee-jerky, but they're asking questions, which is the important thing. The second camp have some points, but are also wrong. So this community outcry against plants and against smite buff removal has led to certain devs surrounding the team, or just at Riot in general, getting slightly annoyed on Twitter. I'm not gonna like name names or witch hunt anybody, because honestly, I entirely see where they're coming from. This is essentially their baby, I guess, that they've trod out in front of everybody. And it's like you had a kid and like your friends just were like, oh, that is an ugly fucking baby, what the fuck? People have not taken too well to it really all that well. But at the same time, I still feel like them condemning the community for asking questions about it. And this is it, they're just asking questions. Just because you haven't had a chance to try it yet, it's not very fair. But despite this somewhat questionable behavior, I mean, it's honestly not the first time that this person in question has been like this. But there are some new announcements regarding the jungle changes that are quite positive, actually. And it gives me a little bit of hope that Riot they're getting a little bit more comfortable in their skin with the game. It also makes me question why they had to wait to release this information 24 hours after the internet went fucking nuts at the initial jungle announcements. It's been 6 or 7 years, and Riot are still kind of finding their feet with game design and the game. They're getting closer, but for fuck, you know? So what are the jungle changes exactly? Is Elise gonna spring out of your monitor and give you that tasty spider hand job with all 8 hands? Well, no. So, you know, every season, when the season starts, you boot up League of Legends for the first time, and you realize that literally every mastery page that you've made, all 20 mastery pages you've made, for all the champions you main, against every potential matchup, has been rendered completely fucking useless, and you have no idea what you're doing. Well, as I said earlier, Riot are getting a little bit more comfortable in their skin, and instead of revamping everything, Riot are changing one mastery, and that is it. Now, we don't know what mastery is going to be. I don't know if it's a keystone or if it's just a regular one, but it's a step in the right direction. The only other changes that are happening to masteries are some things are being adjusted numbers-wise, so maybe some things are going to be getting a buff, or some things are getting a nerf, but it's only going to be slight number changes, which is very nice. And I know some people are going to say, oh, but it makes the game more stale. The game's not as fun. You might think that, but imagine having everything changed so hard at top level of play that all of a sudden everybody has no fucking idea what they're doing, and like everybody just plays like shit. They have no idea what the fuck the masteries are. Imagine that's the game's your job and you're a pro player and your livelihood relies on you being at the top of your fucking game, and even you're sitting there like, I have no clue what the fuck I'm doing. The pro players don't even get to test out the masteries. They don't get to test out the jungle changes. They don't get to test out shit as far as I am aware. Instead, it's like low ego, silverish devs that are balancing the game, and they're deciding what is balanced from a low level of play to a high level of play. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You'd think that the pro players and the people that know every fucking number in this game, that they know exactly how the game works. They know, like, down to the last HP, man, like, what their character does. You'd think that they'd be people that you would go to and be like, you probably play this game more than me. Can you help us? But that's not quite how it works. But for the most part, Riot have always been a little bit iffy with masteries. This season, though, I think they got it pretty fucking spot on. Each tree gives like 3 very different, very versatile keystones that mean you could play like a bunch of different champions, a bunch of different ways, and I have tried out and I've used every single mastery, which I generally didn't in the last few seasons, but all in a simple couple of options. They've made the game a much more versatile, much more dynamic game to play, and in my opinion, like, masteries in a pretty good place right now. I don't see any reason to be changing them. Sure, we're going to be changing one of them. It might not be a big one, though. It might just be one that nobody really gives a shit about. And they might be adding something that is actually useful. So I'm going to hold off on my reservations on that one, purely because they are not changing masteries very much. So good job, guys. Round of applause. Everything's great. So alongside that, there is another jungle change that's going on, and that is that Razorbeaks, the little birds, are being changed to have 1 big Razorbeak and then 4 smaller ones instead of just 3. So they get an additional mob in that little camp. Additionally, red buff and blue buff are now solo buffs. The blue buff is not going to have the little sentinels next to him to protect him. Brambleback, the red buff, is not going to have his little guys next to him either. I'm kind of sad about that, actually. Not from like a gameplay standpoint, but I kind of like them. But that actually does also mean that certain junglers are now going to be like a little bit different. For instance, Fiddlesticks with his Dark Wind, which bounces a lot of times, it's going to be way easier for him to clear the raptors, the razorbeak bird things, than it is blue buff and red buff. He's gonna have like a little bit more time added on to clearing those, whereas Kha'Zix, he gets to isolate damage onto red and blue buff immediately. He doesn't have to clear the smaller minions first, which means that we could easily be looking at an extra, like maybe 10 or so seconds shaved off of his clear time, because he can do that damage a lot faster, and like he gets that isolated damage from level 1, but he doesn't have to clear anything. And I really think it's cool, considering the knock-on effects of certain small changes, like an additional buff monster, or like the subtraction of smaller monsters. It's cool to think about. Those are the only two that came into my head when I thought about it. And honestly, Fiddlesticks is probably not going to be like really all that like fucked up about it, but it's cool to think about. Also, some of my favorite news regarding smite buffs. In replacement of smite buffs, now every single epic monster that is smited will grant either flat health or health over time, regardless of what buff it is. Now, whilst I love the variety of each smite buff, I'm at least somewhat pleased that they're doing something. They're doing something to like give a benefit to smiting epic monsters, because it did very much seem to me like they're kind of like pushing this idea that you should only use smite on dragon or champions, and that there's no real benefit for like the characters that have to like stick into the jungle and farm it out, or characters that if they're behind they need to farm it out. Like, you have to either go ham or go home is pretty much the message that I was getting from Riot. Instead, you can farm out in the jungle if there's no dragon to contest, if there's no Rift Herald, if there's nothing, if you're behind and you cannot contest, or if every lane's pushed up, you can't gank, or you're just too far behind, you can stick out in the jungle and you do get a health benefit from that. I have no idea what the fucking ratios are going to be on those heals, but it's a step in the right direction. So I'm just going to say this: if you're a jungler, if you're a jungle main and you have a PBE account, get yourself on the PBE the next week or so, whenever it comes out. Try it out, and if you don't like it or you do like it, hit up the forums, hit up Reddit, make your voice heard, because the devs that are behind this have expressed their willingness to pull the idea if it doesn't actually work in execution. So the only way for them to know if it works or not is for you to tell them. So shout about it, like shape the game. I'm talking to you, can change the game as we know it with just an opinion. Personally, for me though, I'm still a little bit skeptical about the plants. A lot of people on forums have said that it's a good trade-off, and you know, the trade-off for the plants cover a lot of the things that the buffs did anyway, which is, I think, a lot of bullshit. For instance, people saying that Scryer's Orb is a good replacement for the Razorbeak's buff. How that is, I don't quite know, but that is what people seem to really think. Whereas like Scryer's Orb is the one that grants a cone of vision. It grants vision, whereas Razorbeak's all about denial of vision, which I think is a really underappreciated mechanic in League of Legends. And I kind of do want to like actually talk about it a little bit more, about how denial of vision is just as fucking important to me in League of Legends. I think it's just as important as placing a ward down in itself. There really isn't a whole lot of options in terms of denying vision in the game. You have like a trinket that sucks ass until like level 9, and even then cooldown's still not great, but up until level 9 you're left with a really long cooldown trinket that doesn't move, it's stationary, so if you miss it, you're fucked. You have pink wards, which are really expensive early game. Obviously they take up like a slot as well that make things a little bit more difficult. You can't put down more than one to clear vision. It's just not really efficient for clearing a lot of wards and denying vision. But it seems for like the most part, the plants decision was made because they did say they wanted more mini objectives to fight over. Wards are fucking mini objectives. To me, that seemed really weird that they didn't think about that first. They wanted something to fight over that wasn't dragon, it wasn't Rift Herald, it wasn't Baron, it wasn't towers, and it wasn't just champion skirmishes. They wanted another mini objective, like kind of like Rift Scuttle. Wards are those are the objectives that people fight over. People are not gonna fight over a fucking Scryer's Orb in the jungle. It's not worth fighting over. In all honesty, vision for 15 seconds, however long it is, or like a Ziggs bomb effect, is not worth a fucking team fight. Whereas like, you know, how many times have you seen two fucking supports duking it out bot lane in Tribush trying to get rid of a ward, or like, and then another jungler comes in, or mid laner roams down bot, and a fucking actual team fight happens, and it's all because this little one objective, fucking a free ward or like a 75G ward has caused 3 deaths, 3 kills. Those are the objectives that I think are worth like focusing on, and particularly denial of those objectives, so that you have more opportunities to contest and more opportunities to fight. So like maybe a reduction on the cooldown of your rewards or your vision, your red trinket or something. If you wanted people to fight a lot more, then that would work. Get rid of vision, or like have more options for vision and more options for getting rid of vision. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think that's a bit more interesting than fighting over a fucking fruit. Let me know your suggestions or your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching yet another video where I ramble on about shit I hate. I'm really sorry that the backdrop isn't up. It's fucking broken, but I'll fix it. And I'm sorry that the gameplay is not live as well. But I actually do pretty well in this game, so it's okay. Regardless, guys, again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you tomorrow. Take it easy.